Today, with all the advancements in AI, space travel and nuclear power, we don't really think of fire as an important technology. But to the Stone Age people, hundreds of thousands of years ago, it certainly was. Just think how many things require heat. Things like cooking, heating, and smelting, to name a few. What would the world today look like without our ever-increasing knowledge and control of fire? Well, that's something we might never know, but let's at the very least learn how our species' relationship with fire began and how it grew to what it is today. Fire has been around since the dawn of human time. It occurred mostly as a result of lightning strikes against old dry trees and natural process of filtering dead wood out of a forest ecosystem. A natural disaster just like any other, an event to be fearful of. Humans, however, unlike other animals, could realize the possibilities of taming this dangerous, almost magical power for countless ends. Early humans almost certainly began to use fire a very long time ago. Anthropologists claim that around 1.5 million years have passed since our first utilization of fire began, not through rubbing two sticks together and not through producing sparks with two pieces of rock, but seasonally by rushing towards lightning strikes and borrowing some of the fire for later use. Those early humans were not Homo sapiens, they were our ancestors, but at the time they did not look like us. According to some anthropologists, fire was not in regular use by the early humans at the time. They did not possess any technology to create their own fire and were not able to fully preserve the fire they took. But when they did catch fire, they likely used it for cooking, lighting, as well as for keeping animals away at night. There is good evidence found in cave sediments which suggests that fire use 400,000 years ago has gone through a major change. The discovered hearths and deep deposits of ash found in caves along with human bones suggest that anatomically modern humans 400,000 years ago had begun to use fire regularly. They had finally gained the power to create fire at will. The technique with which they created fire is unfortunately entirely unknown. Anthropologists speculate, however, that rubbing a stick against a piece of wood or hitting two very specific rocks against each other could produce fire and would be in line with their technological sophistication. This might not seem like a major breakthrough, but it likely was. The increased exposure to fire allowed humans to fully rely on its presence and learn much more about it and how to use it. By 200,000 years ago, after the use of fire had already spread around the world, humans had already begun to use fire for more complex functions such as crafting and hunting. While any advancement in crafting and hunting could be a major improvement to our ancestors' daily life, it was the regular access to cooking that probably had the biggest effect on their quality of life. It not only allowed them to process foods like some beans, nuts, and berries which were previously inedible, but it also reduced the amount of time they spent chewing meat significantly by an hour or two daily at least. So what about hunting and crafting? Around 160,000 years ago, for example, it was found that humans were heat-treating stones, which are hard to work with, to make it easier to shape them into spear points and knives. As for hunting, they used torches and in some cases forest fire to scare animals and lure them down cliffs and into dead ends. A very effective hunting strategy. Humans' use of fire and really any technology has only begun to reach truly impressive levels around 50,000 to 20,000 years ago. A very harsh period of time when the Ice Age was reaching its peak intensity. The temperatures at the time were very low to the north and the droughts were often deadly to the south. Humans were forced to adapt and explore. It is during this period that some humans had begun to move towards cooler areas to the north and had to face a much more challenging climate. A feat only possible due to the rapid advancements of Stone Age technology, such as the invention of the bone needle and the on-demand creation of fire. The north was simply too cold to survive without warm clothing and a consistent access to fire. Fire-making technology around this period was likely improved even further than simply hitting two stones or rubbing sticks to produce it. It is likely that humans, somewhere around this period, began to use some form of simplified bow drill to start their fires faster and with less effort. Humans have also found many more uses for fire, which help them build and invent more and more groundbreaking tools. Tools and equipment such as canoes, which help them traverse lakes, rivers, and in some cases even seas. Fire in this case was used to burn into a log of wood, so a hole was made. A person could fit inside of it and stay perfectly afloat. Burning was also used as a process of carving holes in wood if primitive drilling was not able to do the job. If carving became difficult because a hole carved was too deep, fire would be used to burn through to the other side. A technique used by many nomadic tribes to craft hafted hand axes, a tool far superior to the primitive axes they used just a few thousand years before. Fire was also used to harden clay, which eventually was used to make pottery, an important storage technology used to store and preserve both solid foods as well as liquids. Fire now had many uses which helped these nomadic humans survive the harsh environments they had moved to. But its uses around this period, although impressive, were still quite primitive in nature. What humans 20,000 years ago haven't yet explored is control of temperature, reaching higher and higher temperatures and maintaining those temperatures for long periods of time. A topic which will be covered shortly, but before that, make sure to subscribe to this channel if you have enjoyed this video so far. One of the most impressive iterations on fire used in the Neolithic period was the invention of kilns for heating pottery more easily and in bulk. Those were constructed around 8,000 years ago and were used in many villages. Demand for such technology was so high that some individuals became specialized kiln builders, surely a well-respected occupation at the time. A kiln could burn hot and maintain the same temperatures for long periods of time. This control of temperature was impressive, but the next major advancement, the furnace, was much more impactful. A piece of technology along with the discovery of metallurgy, which moved humanity from the Stone Age right into the Bronze Age. The first useful metal to be smelted and shaped was likely copper around 7,000 years ago. A metal which requires a pretty high temperature of 1000 degrees Celsius or 2000 degrees Fahrenheit for it to melt, a temperature not quite possible to achieve with a simple campfire. That's why special furnaces were constructed. They looked like little chimneys which were often filled all the way up with wood. When burning, all the heat would be forced upwards, producing very high temperatures. The result of this feat was the production of copper tools, not as useful as bronze since it's a soft metal requiring many repairs, but still a big step forward from their stone tools. What's interesting is that the technology to produce bronze tools existed, but it still took humanity additional 2000 years before they figured out that tin and copper makes bronze. Bronze changed everything. It was far easier to work with than stone. A skillful blacksmith, for example, could shape bronze into countless things, such as swords, plates of armor, nails, and so many specialized tools. Bronze was also tougher and could be shaped to a finer point than anything else available at the time. It quickly became a resource of the highest importance throughout the Fertile Crescent, Anatolia, and later even Europe, seeing trade activity unlike any other inedible product. The life of these ancient people was significantly changed. I think it's now clear how the discovery of fire use and any new iteration on how to better control it has played an enormous role in pretty much anything we see in the world today. From bricks which make up our houses to the cars and the metal it's made out of, fire meant the world to the Stone Age people, and we might sometimes forget how important fire is to us today.